Fatimah Sorrow Season 2, Episode 1, Starting a Job at the Local Hospital. Fatimah and Jubril celebrate her graduation with friends and family. Amidst the festivity, they discuss their future plans and the excitement of Fatimah starting her job at the local hospital. Jubril, ever supportive, reflects on the changing attitudes in the community towards women education. The evening was filled with laughter and joy as the celebration continued. Fatimah's parents beamed with pride. Her friends chattered excitedly about the future. The children ran around, their giggles filling the warm night air. The aroma of grilled meat and spices wafted through the backyard, mixing with the sweet scent of blooming jasmine. Jubril watched Fatima from across the yard, feeling a swell of pride and admiration. He remembered the late-night study sessions, the endless cup of tea he had made for her, and the words of encouragement he whispered when she felt overwhelmed. Now, seeing her in her graduation gown, he knew all those moments had led to this day. Fatima caught his eye and smiled, making her way over to him. "We did it," she said, taking his hand. "I couldn't have done it without you." "You did the hard part," Jubril replied, squeezing her hand. "I'm just glad I could help." They walked to a quiet corner of the yard, away from the crowd. "So, what happens next?" Jubril asked, a hint of excitement in his voice. "Well," Fatima began, "I start my job at the hospital next week. It's going to be a big change, but I'm ready for it." Her eyes sparkled with determination. Jubril nodded, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something more was on the horizon. "And after that?" Fatima paused, looking thoughtful. "I've been thinking, what if we use this opportunity to do more for our community? There are so many young girls who look up to us now. We could start a program, maybe offer scholarship or mentorship." Jubril felt a surge of excitement. "That's a brilliant idea. We could really make a difference." As they talked, the sky darkened, and the first star appeared. Fatima leaned against Jubril, her mind racing with possibility, but deep down she couldn't ignore a sense of unease. There were challenges ahead, she was sure of it. The hospital job was just the beginning, but she knew that everyone in the community supported the idea of a woman stepping into such a prominent role. The next morning, Fatima woke up early, her mind buzzing with the events of the night before. She decided to visit the hospital and get a feel for the place before her first official day. As she walked through the bustling street, she felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. The hospital loomed ahead, a symbol of her hard work and dreams. But as she entered the building, she noticed the curious and skeptical glances from some of the staff. A few whispered to each other, their expressions unreadable. Fatima took a deep breath and squared her shoulders. She was determined to prove herself. Meanwhile, back at home, Jubril was busy making calls. He had contacts in various organizations and was eager to get the ball rolling on Fatima's ideas. But as he hung up the phone, he received an unexpected message. It was from an old friend who had some troubling news about the hospital. There were rumors of internal politics and resistance to new hires, especially women. Jubril's heart sank. He knew he had to tell Fatima, but he didn't want to dampen her spirit. As he pondered his next move, the doorbell rang. It was Fatima, looking more determined than ever. "How was your visit?" Jubril asked, trying to gauge her mood. "It was entertaining," she replied carefully. "I can see it's not going to be easy, but I'm ready for the challenge." Jubril took a deep breath. Fatima, there's something you should know. I heard some rumor about the hospital. They might not be as welcoming as we hoped. Fatima's eyes narrowed, but she nodded. I suspected as much. But that just means we have to be even stronger. We will face whatever comes our way together. Jibril felt a swell of pride and resolve. You are right. We will tackle this head on. And in the meantime, I will keep working on our community project. As they sat down to discuss their plans, a knock on the door interrupted them. Jubril opened it to find a young girl standing there, clutching a letter. Miss Fatima, she said nervously, this is for you. Fatima took the letter, her heart pounding. She opened it and read the content, her eyes widening with each line. Jubril watched her face, trying to read her expression. What does he say? He asked, unable to contain his curiosity. Fatima looked up, her face a mix of shock and determination. It's from the hospital administration. They want to see me tomorrow morning. Something big is happening and they need my help. Jibril felt a chill run down his spine. What do you think it means? Fatima shook her head, her mind racing. I don't know. But whatever it is, we are about to find out. And with that, the two of them braced themselves for the next chapter of the journey, knowing that whatever challenges lays ahead, they will face them together. The next morning, Fatima woke up early, her heart pounding with anticipation and anxiety. She dressed in her smartest outfits, hoping to make a strong impression. Jibril insisting on driving her to the hospital, wanting to be there for support even if he couldn't go inside with her. As they pulled up to the hospital, Fatima took a deep breath. No matter what happens in there, just remember how far you have come, Jubril said, squeezing her hand. Thank you, Fatima replied, her voice steady, but her eyes betraying a flicker of nerves. Inside the hospital, she was greeted by a stern-looking receptionist who directed her to the administrative office. As she walked down the long, sterile hallway, she couldn't help but notice the sideway glances from some of the staff. She straightened her shoulders and held her head high. The office door was ajar, and she knocked softly before stepping inside. The room was filled with senior administrators, their faces serious. Dr. Ahmed, the head of the hospital, gestured for her to sit. Thank you for coming, Fatima, Dr. Ahmed began. We have a situation that requires immediate attention. Fatima's mind raced as Dr. Ahmed explained. There had been an outbreak of a mysterious illness in a nearby village, and the hospital was overwhelmed. They needed all hands on deck, and her recent training made her an invaluable asset. You will be working directly with our team in the emergency ward, Dr. Ahmed said. Are you ready for this challenge? Fatima nodded, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. Yes, I am. As she left the office, Fatima's thoughts were in turmoil. She hadn't expected to be thrown into such a critical situation on her first day, but there was no turning back now. She found herself in the emergency ward, where chaos reigned. Patients were being rushed in, doctors and nurses were moving swiftly, and the tension in the air was palatable. Fatima quickly got to work, her training kicking in. She assisted with triage, administered medication, and provided comfort to the frightened patient. Hours flew by in a blur, and Fatima felt a sense of purpose and determination she had never experienced before. Meanwhile, Jubril paced nervously at home. his phone clutched in his hand. He couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was happening at the hospital. He decided to visit some of the community elders, hoping to rally support for Fatima and their upcoming project. He approached the home of Alhaji Isa, a respected elder known for his influence. After explaining the situation, Alhaji Isa listened thoughtfully. "Young Jubril, you and Fatima have ambitious dreams, but change is never easy. Many in our community are resistant to it. We need your support," Jubril pleaded. "Fatima is facing challenges at the hospital, and we want to create opportunity for other young girls. Can you help us?" Alhaji Isa nodded slowly. "I will do what I can, but be prepared for resistance. Not everyone will welcome these changes." Back at the hospital, Fatima had just finished treating a young child when Dr. Ahmed approached her. "You have done exceptionally well today, Fatima, but there is something else I need to discuss with you." Fatima had skipped a bit. "What is it?" Dr. Ahmed led her to a quieter corner. "We have received threats from some group in the community. They don't approve of women like you working in such a visible role. I want you to be aware and stay vigilant." Fatima felt a chill run down her spine. "Thank you for telling me. I won't let it deter me." As the day turned to evening, Fatima finally finished her shift. She stepped outside, feeling the cold night air on her face. Jubril was waiting for her, his face full of concern. "How did it go?" he asked. Fatima smiled wearily. "It was intense, but I made it through." "There is something else though. Dr. Ahmed warned me about threats from the community." Jubril's expression hardened. "We will face it together, just like everything else." They walked home in silence, each lost in their thoughts. The road ahead was fraught with challenges, but they knew that they had each other. As they approached their home, they noticed a small group gathered outside. It was Alhaji Isa and some other community elders. "We have come to support you," Alhaji Isa said, his voice firm. "Your courage is inspiring, and we believe in your vision." Fatima and Jubril exchanged a look of relief and determination. With the support of their community and their unwavering resolve, they knew they could overcome any challenge. But in the shadows, unknown to them, a figure watched with narrowed eyes, plotting their next move. The journey was far from over, and the real test was yet to come. The figure in the shadow slipped away unnoticed, blending into the darkness as the community leader dispersed. Fatima and Jubril thanked Alhaji Isa and the others for their support, feeling a renewed sense of hope and determination. Inside their house, they sat to discuss the day's event and plan for next step. "We need to be careful," Jubril said, his voice tinged with worry. "If there are people threatening you, we have to stay vigilant." Fatima nodded, her eyes serious. "I won't let fear stop me, but we do need a plan. We should increase security at the hospital and maybe even here at home." Over the next few days, they worked tirelessly. Fatima continued her work at the hospital, earning the respect of her colleagues through her dedication and skill. Jubril focused on organizing their community projects, meeting with the potential supporters, and arranging for extra security measures. They knew the threats were real, but they refused to let them hinder their progress. One evening, as Fatima returned home exhausted from another long day, she found a letter slipped under their door. She picked it up, her heart pounding as she recognized the ominous handwriting. Jubril came up behind her, reading over her shoulder. The letter was short and chilling. stop your work or face the consequence. Fatima's hand shook, but she quickly steadied herself. We can't let them intimidate us, she said, her voice firm. Jubril agreed, though his worry was evident. We will report this to the authority and make sure we are protected, but we have to stay focused. The next day, Fatima showed the letter to Dr. Ahmed. He took it seriously and arranged for increased security at the hospital. The local police were informed and an investigation was launched. Meanwhile, Fatima threw herself into her work, determined to prove her worth and make a difference. As day turned into week, the hospital emergency ward began to stabilize, thanks in part to Fatima's tireless effort. Her colleagues started to see her not just as a symbol, but a capable and dedicated professional. Slowly, she won over even the most skeptical among them. One afternoon, as Fatima was finishing her shift, she received an urgent call from Jubril. "Come home quickly," he said, his voice strained. "It's about the community project." Fatima hurried home, her mind racing with possibility. When she arrived, she found Jubril surrounded by a group of young girls and their parents. There were tears and smiles and an air of excitement. "What's going on?" Fatima asked, bewildered. Jubril smiled. "Remember our idea for scholarship and mentorship? Well, we have received a donation from an anonymous benefactor. It's enough to get our project off the ground." Fatima's eyes widened. "That's incredible. Who would do that?" "We don't know," Jubril admitted, "but it seems someone believes in what we are doing." As they celebrated this unexpected support, the shadowy figure watched from a distance, their plan taking a darker turn. They realized that direct threat wouldn't be enough to stop Fatima and Jubril. They needed a different strategy, something more insidious. The next morning, as Fatima arrived at the hospital, she was met with whispers and fugitive glances. Confused, she went to her locker to change into her uniform, only to find it defaced with hateful messages. Her heart sank, but she refused to let it show. Dr. Ahmed found her shortly after. "I am so sorry, Fatima. We will find out who did this." Fatima nodded, trying to hold back her tears. "Thank you, Dr. Ahmed. I won't let this stop me." Jubril, meanwhile, was busy coordinating the first mentorship meeting with the young girls. The excitement in their eyes reminded him why they were doing this, but in the back of his mind, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That evening, as they discussed the day's event, they received another letter. This time, it was more personal, mentioning details about their daily routine and hinting at their community project. It was clear that whoever was behind the threat knew more about them than they had realized. "We need to find out who is doing this," Jubril said, his voice filled with determination. "They won't stop until we do." Fatima agreed. "We will increase our security and be more cautious, but we can't stop now. We are making a difference." As they prepared for another day of challenges, the shadowy figure watched, their next move already in motion. The game was far from over. The stakes were higher than ever. Fatima and Jubril know they had to stay strong for themselves and for the future they were building. The real battle was just beginning. As the day turned into weeks, the tension in the air grew thicker. Fatima and Jubril remained vigilant, their resolve unwavering despite the increasing threat. The anonymous benefactor's support has given their community project a significant boost, and they were determined to see it through. One evening, after a particularly grueling day at the hospital, Fatima returned home to find Jubril waiting for her with a grave expression. "We need to talk," he said, leading her to the living room, where a stack of documents lay on the table. "What's this?" Fatima asked, her curiosity piqued. Jubril signed. "I've been doing some digging. I asked around and found out more about the threat. It seems they are coming from a small but powerful group within the community. People who feel threatened by the changes we are trying to make." Fatima's eyes widened. Do we know who they are? Not exactly, Jubril replied. But we do know they have influence, and they are not going to stop until we confront them directly. Fatima took a deep breath. Then we need to bring this into the open. We can't fight shadows. We need to rally the community to expose whosoever is behind this. The next day, they organized a meeting with the community leader, supporters, and the local media. Fatima stood before the crowd, her voice steady but filled with emotion. Thank you all for coming. Jubril and I have faced many challenges recently, not just at the hospital, but also in our effort to support young girls in our community. We have received threats, and our work has been sabotaged. But we believe in what we are doing, and we need your help to bring the truth to light. The room buzzed with murmur, and Alhaji Isa stepped forward. Fatima, Jubril, you have our support. We will not let fear and intimidation dictate our future. We will stand with you. The meeting galvanized the community. People who had been silent began to speak out, sharing their own experiences and fears. The atmosphere shifted from one of tension to one of unity and resolve. As the day passes, the pressure on the shadowy group increased. Community members began to identify those responsible. The authority took action. Slowly but surely, the threat dwindled, and the hospital administration strengthened their support for Fatima. One evening, as Fatima and Jubril were winding down after a long day, they received a final letter. This one was different. It was an apology from one of the members of the group who had been threatening them. The letter detailed the fear of change and the misguided attempt to stop progress. It was a small but significant victory. With the threat behind them, Fatima and Jubril focused on their future. The community project flourished, providing scholarships and mentorship to countless young girls. Fatima continued her work at the hospital, where she was now respected and admired by her colleagues. One sunny afternoon, they gathered with friends, family, and supporters to celebrate the final launch of their community center. Fatima stood before the crowd, a symbol of perseverance and hope. We have come a long way, she began, her voice strong. Together, we have faced challenges and overcome them. This center is more than just a building. It is a testament to our strength and unity. It is a place where dreams can grow and where future begins. Jubril joined her, taking her hands. This is just the beginning. There will be more challenges, but we will face them together with the support of our community. The crowd erupted in applause, and as Fatima looked out at the sea of smiling faces, felt a profound sense of accomplishment and hope. The journey had been difficult, but it had also been worth every struggle. Fatima and Jubril stood together, their hearts full, ready to embrace the future and the endless possibility it held. Their story was far from over, but they knew that whatever come next, they would face it together, stronger than ever. Watch out for the next episode too. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, and press the notification button for more interesting and captivating story. See you in the next story. Bye for now.